Welcome back to Stationeers, and it's time to complete our sort of heating cooling system, whatever you actually want to call it, I think. Just want to get started. Let's put in some more flooring. We may need more for the circuitry, unfortunately. can't always get away with just really compact circuitry. I'd love a miniaturized version, and would love the whole server rack concept. I don't think we've got there yet, unfortunately, but when we do, I will be very much looking forward to it. In any case, let's get started. So we've got some extra floor space, and just in case you haven't watched the previous episodes, we've got a cold tank here that's inputting through a pressure regulator, which we can turn on to fill a hot tank. The hot tank is being heated by those heaters on the bottom, which heat this intermediary gas that's in this room, which in turn heat exchange with the pipe there, and the pipe can refill the room. So we've got this sort of ability to heat the pipe up. I did get some comments also saying, hey, you still have a furnace. Yes, exactly. So where we have our return line, which is here, I've got the electronics off at the moment, but there's a return line here coming from our furnace. We can take all these radiators out if we want to, and indeed not even connected up to the input here, take it all the way down behind and over towards the hot room. In there we can put extra radiators, maybe, you know, up there or something like that. Yeah, up there will probably do the job, and that would in turn raise the temperature. Now what would happen, let's say the furnace was outputting at 500 degrees. It would reach equilibrium with the room at something between where this Schmidt trigger is set to, which is somewhere between, you know, up to 94 degrees or whatever it was. Somewhere between that and 500 degrees it would settle to. That requires us then to get rid of this stuff from the furnace once it's reached equilibrium, or, you know, within a few degrees. So we may well do that later. I'm not going to do it at the moment. If you want to do it, feel free to. It shouldn't be terribly complicated. Just put a new set of radiators in there, and then you want a return line coming back out of here and towards this towards the input to it. Well, in fact, we can just cross over to, we can connect anywhere on this pipe right here. Okay, so we can do that. In any case, let's get started with the sort of heating cooling system. Okay, so I've pulled up the floor, and let's take a look at this. So this is currently our pollutant line. It's a long loop. We can shorten that loop, but we did get a couple of comments from people saying, yeah, I suppose I could just cut across here and then back there, and that would make a short loop for mixing, and then the rest of it would be fine. So yeah, I can save some pipe work doing that. So on this side is the pollutant, and on this is our volume pump. It's set to 10 litres at the moment, and it comes directly from our cold tank. So because I don't have any plants in there at the moment, I don't care too much about the temperature, so we can rip things up, which is exactly what I'm going to do. What am I going to do? First of all, I'm going to take the pipe work out, and then when steam stops making noises, I need to turn steam off. Let's take volume pump out. The volume pump takes 200 watts when it's on. These systems shouldn't be on for very much time, so I'm going to try and start with pressure regulators, and if they're not enough, I'll switch to volume pumps. I was going to use steam. I was going to use filtration units. I may well even change to those in future. They just stick up above this flooring too much for me at the moment, and we have enough power to actually deal with this. However, yeah, I can make it even more efficient by using those in future. Let's start out with something configurable, however, which they are not. Okay, so the pressure regulator and the volume pump are both configurable. The pressure regulator is slower generally, so we'll have to see how well this copes. We'll test it by starting to put plants in there and seeing whether it can keep it within a certain temperature variance. This is going to be our central line right here, so we can put this back and do this. I am going to want a T-junction though first. Well, not so much a T-junction. Let me just get the pressure regulators first. So we want a pressure regulator to feed. I guess we can go that way, like that, and then, well, I'll be moving the power controller, and we can do this side like this. Yes, Yes. I will need to put some kind of cable there, so I can't put this. Whoops, I can't. Where's my? That's a wow. How big is that wrench? That will work. We can send the cable that way, and then across to there, and we'll move that power controller back. So from this side, then we just need to probably have a T-junction. There we go. And put a couple of corners back in. What? The system decided to just jump me sideways. And then a straight pipe back in there. Okay, so now this should contain, let me just swap back out. This should contain our pollutant. Yeah. So we've got 660 kilopascals, or 6 times Earth atmosphere, which is perfectly fine for these pipes, and 1.6 kilomoles of pollutant at 30 degrees, and that's going to get warmer and warmer because all the basic electronics have been disabled. Fine. Behind this then we've got 90 degrees on one and minus 55 degrees on the other. So we have all the essential things we need to change the temperature of this. However, at the moment it'll be wasted once it gets used. So that we may want to feed back into this particular room, because it'll be, yeah, I think this room. I don't think there's any reason to put it into the cold tank because we want to keep that as cold as possible. Fine. So now I need to move a lot of the cabling around, and slightly annoyingly, I can't just connect this cable here across and in because, well, I suppose I can, but then everything has to connect to that cable. Interesting. Should we go that way? Can we do it that way? Yeah, I think we can probably arrange that-ish. I just may need to connect everything through there and down this way, I think. So let me just change that around a little bit. There we go. Everything's now in one network. You'll see I've got two regulators. They're both hooked up to the same subnetwork as everything else, and it all comes behind here, and we're protected by this power controller. So we shouldn't only be able to see devices that are on this network. Now, I had to think of a bunch of different ways of doing this, and I think I'm going to try and keep it simple as possible for you. There are probably more sophisticated ways to do this, but I thought it's probably best to try and keep things simple. So what saves us from doing something more complicated, I think, is that we're checking two values. We're checking the temperature of the room we want to keep things to, and we're checking, or we've got a sort of trigger temperature to trigger one side of things. Okay, and when they are both, we're doing this compare unit of the room actual temperature being greater than the ideal temperature, because we've got a gas sensor in there, remember? So, you know, is it too hot in the room? And we're doing what's the pipe actual temperature? Is it greater than the trigger temperature? And we're doing two comparisons. So it shouldn't fight itself, because what we should be doing is, because we're checking the pipe temperature and the room temperature against its ideal, it should only ever be one of the two states. For example, if it's too hot in the room, we know we need to cool it down. But because we're monitoring the pipe temperature, we know what's going on. Similarly, if it's too cold in the room, we need to heat up the pipe, but again, we're still monitoring the pipe. Now I just need some more electronics, and we'll lay it out, and let's see if this makes sense to you as well. Maybe it'll be wrong, we'll see. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is just correct this previous logic writer that we have. It was looking for that volume pump, that no longer exists. So now I want to make sure it turns on the cold regulator. Okay, so we just need to change that across. And cold regulator. There we go. And we're going to change its on state. And that it's powered, so we can cool things down if we want to, just by turning it on. And let's see how well that actually does in practice. Let's just turn this on. So there's a couple of moles there. So I turn this on. How fast is it going to change? Wow, that's changing pretty well. Yeah, so that's not going to need, even with the pressure regulator, which is saving us some power already, that's not going to need much change to get things working. And as you can see, the CO2 is being filtered back out again. It's going to go out into the atmosphere. Okay. So, if that... did I turn it off? I did. Good. So if that's working, then what we'd probably need to do is set up a couple more of these. So the ideal temperature can stay exactly the same. The pipe trigger temperature, however, is going to change. That's the... That's going to need to be relabeled to something else. But let's say cooling. No, pipe cooling trigger. Yeah, that should do for now. And then we're going to need another memory unit. I've got some more bits and pieces. Have I got some memory? Yes, I do. And we can put another one here. Do exactly the same. And we're going to set this one to a little... well, let me have a think about these values. 1 second. Yeah, so what's really happening is... ignore that value. What we're really looking at is this. So is the pipe actual temperature from this, so its temperature is 302 at the moment, greater than the pipe cooling trigger, so this one. So if the pipe gets too hot, if it gets 305, we're going to trigger, well, we're going to have one check to say, hey, it probably needs cooling. But the other check is also coming in here as well. So we're going to check if the room actual temperature is greater than the room ideal temperature. So we're going to do the same thing, but on the other side. So if we set this 3 degrees off, then we also want 3 degrees on the other side, probably. Seems reasonable to expect, doesn't it? So in that case, we just want 3 degrees on top. So 311 is what we should set this to, at least to get started. So increase 310, 311. Seems reasonable, and we should probably call that, what was this called? Pipe cooling trigger? Okay, should we probably call this pipe heating trigger? Okay, and we'll connect it up later. We don't have to worry about that too much at the moment. And then we need to reproduce pretty much most of the circuitry. Let's just grab you. I'm just wondering if I can compact this at all, or if it's just going to be a little bit annoying. So I've got logic writer, we've got the same thing here. So this bank should be fine. It's the math units and the compare units that normally need. I need to see someone somewhere actually figure out what the most compact way to pack all these in. I think it's just a regular grid, because if you put it there, there's no connection except... if you... well, no, there is. Yeah, so let's see what you people who like really OCD cabling is going to like about this. Ooh. This might be dangerous. But if I remove this and remove this, for example, and let's get rid of those for a second. And if I put compare units down here, so if we put another compare and another compare, is there a path from all 4 sides of this? There is for that one, and there is for that one. There's not here, though. So you can sometimes get a break with the cabling if you do this, but you still need a path back to above there. This won't work. So I guess we better remove that again. And let's just put you back. However, this will still be fine because there's a path to everything. So you can occasionally get that kind of thing done. But of course, this is going to have to change over anyway. So I think just to save space, well, not save space, but to keep everything looking somewhat symmetric rather than anything else, let's just try this. And I'm sure people will want to comment to tell me just how to make this even more, even nicer. Let's put it that way. So we want another compare and another compare. Let's just see if I can just put that cable back. And then we're going to need to rip up some cables, aren't we, unfortunately. We're going to need pretty much the same cabling that's up there, so lots and lots of 4-way junctions. there, and not necessarily here. We can get away with a regular junction. And the same thing on this side, but we'll have to redo the other side. And then the same thing at this side as well. So, yeah, that's probably the best thing. And can I just get rid of you? Put in another junction. And is that mostly it now? 4-way there. These two are going to need 4 ways, that much is for certain. So I need to take those out, that out, and that out. 4-way junction, 4-way junction, 4-way junction. You don't technically need one there, but for the moment, that just makes as much dense a cable as possible. I can and will change that depending on what we need, but for now, this gets it working. And then we need we definitely need a 4-way there, and then we can just go to kit junctions for the rest. So this side is all, again, 3-point connectors that we have for logic readers. There we go, and yeah, we don't need to worry about that. So just do it this way. And because they're connected around the end, there shouldn't be an issue. That's the last bit of cable I've got. And that is all connected, despite the fact that that isn't connected right there, but I need a little bit more cable for that. However, I think that gets this going. So if you imagine, we've got 2 entirely separate circuits, and I'm going to set this up off camera now, but it's going to replicate that exact circuit, except this time we're going to be looking at still the same gas sensor, still the same room ideal temperature, but instead of looking at this one, we're looking at this one. We're still, again, looking at that pipe analyzer display. And this is where there may be scope to make this happen in less circuitry. So if this works, we've got 6 math units, 6 I/O units, and 3 logic memory. Can you do it in less? Let me know in the comments if you can. And yes, it has to do this same function. Well, we'll see if this one works first of all. 1 second, let me set it up. And for statual optimization, before I even start setting it up, is we don't actually need this one, because it's going to be the same comparison that's here, and the comparison that's here is room actual temperature greater than room ideal temperature, and that's exactly the same as that one. So we don't need that unit. Bye-bye. We can save some cable there. And now, what's this one? This is pipe actual temperature greater than room cooling trigger. We definitely need that one, and we definitely need this. So, yeah. Onward. Okay, so we also don't need either of these because we're already reading that. So we've got the pipe actual temperature and the room actual temperature. Good. Don't need either of those. So we've now brought that back down to 3 extra chips over our cooling solution, hopefully. Let's give this another go once I've got everything set up. And I added this compare unit back because it needed to be done. Yeah, so let me just explain what I've done so far, and this hopefully should make sense. So this compare is a slightly different to this one. So I've renamed the room to hot. So is the room actual temperature greater than the ideal? Is it too hot? This one then needs to do, is the room less than the ideal? Is it too cold? And it's saying it is too cold at the moment. Then we've got to compare units here. So this one is basically comparing the pipe. Is it greater than the pipe cooling trigger? And that's what we did last episode. This one is doing pipe actual temperature less than the heating trigger. Remember, greater than, less than. So is it in range, if you like? So as soon as the temperature of the pipe goes above 311, this will cause the thing to shut off. It will cause it to stop heating too fast. Thereby, hopefully, hopefully not causing the system to fight each other. And if we get fighting, these two will start switching on and off alternately. Okay, so and then we've just got the 2 AND gates. So exactly the same. It's taking the result of those two and getting this. So switch the volume pump on, and we're switching. Well, it actually needs to be renamed. That needs to switch the. That's the cooling pump, isn't it? So switch cooling pump on, and this is switch heating pump on. There we go. And then we don't need to actually rename that because this is the last step. This one is writing switch cooling pump on and right into the cold regulator. This one just needs a, yep, the screwdriver. Switch, was it cooling? Yeah, switch heating pump on. Yeah. And we're going to be writing to the alternate thing. So it's the hot regulator, which should be in here as well, hopefully. Cold regulator, hot regulator. And we want the on setting. Okay, now the system is too cold at the moment, so this should start heating. And there is a still that heating element in there, but I want to see just how well this goes. We may need some modification if this doesn't go well, but there you can see it's switching on the heat, and that should turn off again, hopefully once the temperature becomes too much. And will it start fighting? That's okay, the temperature is passing 35 degrees, 36. That's exactly fine because we wanted 311. So it's not 311 degrees, by the way. There it goes. It's turned off. Now the room should be pulling. This should be pulling the room's temperature up, and you'll see. Yeah, there we go. You see, when that happens, it needs to add more hot gas. And as the room gets closer to the ideal temperature, that should happen less. And then, of course, when we got plants growing, or indeed the sun, going into there, then this shouldn't trigger. What we should instead find is that the other one will need to trigger. This is going to get too hot, and then this other side of the circuit is going to trigger instead. So why don't we head in there and let's see what effect this is having. Hopefully I'm not going to run out of hot gas. How much have I got left? In fact, hang on, we can just turn this on, can't we? We can't see the moles. There wasn't a moles mode in here. It'd be nice if there was. That pressure has dropped significantly. What? Oh, that's the room. Yeah, ignore those. That's just the room. Don't worry about that. Yeah, we've still got 467 kPa. That's absolutely fine. It shouldn't be adding very much at this point to keep it balanced to a certain temperature. Let's head inside. And we're going to cancel the pressurization. All right, what are we at in here? We're at 31.8 and 32. What I'm going to do is just turn you off for a second, put you in my backpack, and then I'm going to rip this off the wall when I have enough battery cell charge. Instead, I'm just going to turn this off. Turn you off. Turn you off. And we don't need any of that electronics anymore. Aside from, the cable here that's feeding this table. So we, I think, are done. 32.5, 32.6. It's heating nicely. Now this should balance out around that, well, it won't necessarily be the ideal temperature, or will it? It should take us within a certain range, and I don't care to be exactly on 35. That's the ideal, but the two end stops, these two memory units, will stop it getting too hot or too cold outside that range. And really we don't care other than that, I don't think, for plants at least. This gas sensor is doing the job just fine. So yeah, I'm going to head back outside. I may well put a logic display up just so that I can see what the temperature and pressure is in here. Yeah, the external is 34 kPa at the moment, and of course the temperature will drop if that we've got the external regulator that feeds in cold gas. If that stops, if whatever gets too low, when we start obviously removing CO2 from the removing O2 from the room. Oh, we got battery bank building up. I've started making more of those. That's probably going to become much larger. Oh, I did want to mention one other thing, by the way. I did put a power controller back here in the previous episode. I just removed it. I went and upgraded to heavy cable. I was just running out of gold, and that's the only reason why I didn't put heavy cable in. But heavy cable is now on the power side for all of these. Technically, as that can deal with 100 kilowatts, it could deal with a long line of solar panels. Doing that means I don't think there's any cable loss at the moment for electricity. If there is, do let me know in the comments. But that does mean that we can not have to worry about the shadow of one solar panel crossing onto the next one. We'd have to make rows of these quite far apart otherwise, and even then there'd be some kind of occlusion at sunset and sunrise. But you know, the heavy cable is enough that we don't have to worry about it too much, and that's pretty neat. Okay, so let's take a look if that system is now stabilized. Shall we have a look? It's nice that we actually have the we have a reader around here somewhere that we can read stuff. So the room actual temperature we can see from outside is 307. And I think we could just use a writer. We could use this. These are the two spaces to fill some kind of display unit. I think I'm actually out of gold. Otherwise, I'd make a display unit. Yep, that's just iron. This is the mining I've been doing. Copper. That's fine. These shouldn't be any one particular... Ooh, we got the nuclear ore. I picked up some of that. That'll be useful. And anything in there? Nope, that's more iron. And it'd be nice to have a furnace setup that will nicely... Yeah, that's iron and copper. So, yeah, we can't really just create that display just yet. I will do some more mining for gold somewhere between the episodes. I did take a look here at fabricators. Some people have been telling me to look for nuclear batteries. It helps me stop having to refill the the light that I'm carrying around in my backpack, which we can make using that battery cell nuclear, and that needs electrum, invar, constant, and solder. And we've made 3 of those. I think next episode I want to make the 4th, and to do that, I'm not sure if I'm going to do the next episode or not, but I am going to do it fairly soon. What I want to do is see if I can make an alloy furnace that is fed by heated gas. So I want some way of concentrating this hot gas side even more. So not just to 89 degrees, but maybe to try and increase it to something that we can use for basically alloying stuff, which means we need to get it up to, you know, thousands of degrees. So I'm more than happy to hear your comments about that, about suggestions about how to do it. We can, of course, you know, recover the heat from just burning gas anyway. That will certainly make hot gas, and we can exchange it with CO2 then to keep the CO2 hot, and the pollutant and all the other kind of stuff we can, you know, just exhaust back into the atmospheric system. The other thing I guess we could do, how else can we generate heat? No, I'm going to leave it to your comments. I have a couple of ideas, but I'd rather... Ooh, gold. We've got three pieces of gold. I'm not sure if that's going to be quite enough. I'm not going to fire up the furnace for that. Let's just turn you on, and let's see you dump that. That may well give me 1 console. I think it's the console kits. I only need one gold. Will you actually do the job? Takes too long to actually make gold. I'm not going to worry about recovering the gases from this just yet. We'll put a separate room in with arc furnaces that will recover all the gases just to make the non-alloys. That seems to be the nicest thing to do. Yeah, we can make 1. That may make me a single console. You may need more than that for some of the larger displays. Is it on there here? Console monitor. Yeah, there we go. So we can maybe only make the small. Can we make the medium? No, we need more consoles. Only the small. Fine, let's turn that upside down. And can I have a connector going in there? Junction. That'll do. And hopefully these have been fixed so that number doesn't go... Yeah, it's centered. Good. Last time I tried this, getting that number to be centered was a bit of a pain. Let's just then... Why don't we just create a writer here? And just dump that on the floor. And then just connect this up. So let's just grab my cable. Is it my backpack? Yeah. 13 cable left. I think it was out of a 50 stack, so that could have gone further. But yeah, this is fine. 2 corners. 1 junction. And then we need to rip this cable out and this cable out. And create 2 junctions. 1 there. 1 there. Job's done. Now we just need the input for this and that is going to be, I guess, the room actual temperature. Need the screwdriver. Whoops. Room actual temp. There we go. And we're going to find, presumably, an LED display in here somewhere. Display unit or something like that. What's it actually called? LED display is small. And let's just turn this on and let's see what... yeah, that is mode. It's remarkably... You really don't need that many decimal places to deal with this, but I guess that works. I think I'm going to go and get some more gold and put a medium display in there if we need that many digits. The alternate thing is you can just put an extra chip in to basically change that to be just no decimal places, but I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to waste the sheer amount of electricity on chips that will that will do this. So let's put the flooring back, and you can see it's heating again. So let's hope that system is working. Let's just double check heating. So we should expect that the room is coming up 1 on both of these. So actual temperature is 307. So it's too cold. Yeah, slightly too cold, but that should change pretty quickly. All of that's not updating. Why aren't you updating? Oh, I probably set this to the wrong thing, or rather I had set it to the right thing, but just not setting. There we go, that's updating. So yeah, as you can see, the room is now fluctuating. It's getting colder, which it shouldn't be. Why are you getting colder? 34 degrees? Are we out of gas already? That would be a bad thing. But as long as the heating system's still working, I don't care that much, because I can always get more gas. Yeah, we're out of gas, that's why. So we need to get more gas in this system, which means I need to turn you on. Oops. There we go. That will in turn put cold gas into the system. There it goes. But that is in turn going to try and inject that way. So that is a problem. That's a problem for another day. For the moment, I'm just going to turn off this writer. Where is it? Is it that one? Yeah, and that means I can turn this off while the system builds up. It may just be a matter of me building the amount of gas up there, and that'll be fine. But if this ever runs out of gas, that's going to become more of a problem. What's this like in here? That's fine. So, and why am I seeing gas flow that way? It shouldn't be. No, it's fine. It's just that these are now heating, so the temperature of the room is falling because it's equalizing with the temperature of the gas, which is currently minus 60. So that's going to need quite a bit of power to actually do. So the system will work fine, but we just need a large excess of gas to fill the system before it can keep up. Other than that, everything works fine, and I will let that run for a while because there is a refill from the atmosphere up there to keep everything going. We may need more. That may not be enough to refill it fast enough, but that's a problem for another day. Hopefully you enjoyed this one. Feel free to like, comment, share, subscribe, etc. And feel free to, of course, comment with any improvements. But for now, guys, this has been this episode, and I will just leave that one panel off for me to turn this back on as soon as it gets as soon as we've got some results here. Oh, am I out of grating? Yeah, so as soon as this fills up, turn this back on, it'll start heating the system again. In the meantime, doesn't matter too much. The heat's dropping, but when the sun comes up, it may well just rise again. I'm pretty happy. Looks pretty good. All right. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.